Trump's power plays, global escalation, and domestic legal battles define week. The political and international arenas are vibrating with the aggressive actions of President Donald J. Trump, whose administration is currently executing a bold, multi-front agenda that is generating both diplomatic tremors abroad and profound constitutional battles at home. This week's narrative is defined by a significant escalation in U.S. foreign policy and a fierce legal clash over the limits of executive power amidst a protracted government shutdown. The most compelling international headline stems from the president's startling confirmation this week that he has authorized covert CIA operations inside Venezuela. Citing concerns over drug trafficking and the reported release of prisoners into the United States, the president stated the administration is looking at land operations following a series of controversial U.S. strikes on vessels in the Caribbean. This open acknowledgement of intelligence operations marks a dramatic and legally contentious shift, raising immediate alarms in Congress and drawing sharp condemnation from Venezuelan President Nicolas Maduro. The move positions the U.S. closer to a military-focused intervention, with lawmakers questioning whether the administration is pursuing a regime change operation without appropriate oversight. Simultaneously, the world is scrutinizing the fragile architecture of the Gaza ceasefire deal brokered by the administration. Following a high-profile summit in Egypt, the president is claiming a decisive victory for peace. However, the future of the region now hinges on the enforcement of the agreement's most volatile provisions. Notably, the president publicly declared that Hamas will be forced to disarm, warning that if they do not, the U.S. would act to disarm them, and it will happen quickly and perhaps violently. The forceful rhetoric ensures that the world remains fixed on the administration's role as the indispensable, yet unpredictable, guarantor of the fragile peace. On the domestic front, the president's assertive application of power is being directly challenged by the U.S. judiciary. The ongoing federal government shutdown, now nearing its third week, led the administration to issue mass layoff notices for thousands of federal workers. This action was abruptly halted by a federal judge, who granted a temporary injunction blocking the firings. In a significant ruling, the court cited the human cost of the administration's actions and suggested the move was a politically motivated overreach during a lapse in funding. The ruling represents a material legal setback to the administration's attempts to use the shutdown as leverage. Adding to the domestic churn, the president has reignited global trade tensions. In a move that sent tremors through financial markets, President Trump threatened a massive 100% tariff on all Chinese imports starting in November. This threat was issued in response to new Chinese restrictions on rare earth exports and a cutback in U.S. soybean purchases. The aggressive action signals a willingness to engage in full-scale trade war, injecting significant volatility into global supply chains and raising immediate fears of increased costs for American consumers. In summary, President Trump's current activities are defined by a maximalist approach to both foreign policy and executive authority. From authorizing covert operations in the Caribbean and dictating terms for a Middle East peace, to clashing with the judiciary and issuing high-stakes trade ultimatums, the administration is operating at a consistently high-octane pace. These actions ensure that the White House remains the singular, dominant focus of the global news cycle.